Today on the Morning Edition, originally she was sentenced to 297 years in prison. Later, that sentence was reduced to 135 years. Now that's changed again. When Alaska's youngest convicted female murderer could be released from prison. Plus,
there are a lot of risks involved with the glaciers. Most importantly, that they move.
as beautiful as Alaska's glaciers are, we're occasionally reminded that they can also be dangerous. We'll share some helpful safety tips for your next adventure. And then what was once thought to be an unbeatable record for the world's largest sunflower has been broken, and not by a small margin, but by over 5 feet. The Morning Edition starts now. Good Tuesday morning, everyone. Wow, broken the record by 5 feet. That's basically how tall I am.
I need some of that green thumb because cannot grow plants.
Oh no! And I love house plants and outdoor plants. I can kind of keep a house plant alive. The outdoor plants don't even try.
Yeah, I just sometimes forget I'm like, oh, I was supposed to water those. So. Speaking of water, we're going to have plenty of rain moving back in across South Central here over the next couple of days. We're starting off this morning on the dry side, but we are expected to see that rain steadily increasing by after mid-morning, early afternoon. Currently sitting at 51 degrees with winds for the most part remaining fairly calm, but we'll also see those winds steadily increasing throughout the day as well. Now, we're starting off today with some breaks in the cloud coverage. Enjoy it for those locations that do manage to see some sunshine breaks when that sun does rise, because cloudy conditions do begin to build back in throughout the day, and we are going to see that rain becoming widespread into the afternoon hours. And again, we are dry this morning outside of some spotty to isolated showers that you could see that you could be dodging for the first part of your morning commute. The rain already out towards areas of southwest Alaska. As you head just north of Dillingham out towards Naknek, New Stoyahuk, you can see widespread heavy rainfall. In fact, we could even see some of the heaviest downpours just to the north of Dillingham to start off your Tuesday morning. And we're going to see rain steadily increasing across South Central throughout the day. You can see again by mid-morning, early afternoon, that's where that rain's going to become more scattered to periodic. And then into the evening hours, we'll see a decent shot for most of South Central sitting up under those overcast and wet conditions. Temperatures today will likely stay in the 50s for most areas. In fact, the overall trend for the rest of this week and into early next week will likely keep temperatures in the 50s. And we are going to see this wet weather pattern staying with us. Coastal areas easily seeing the chance for 2 to 3+ inches of rain accumulation, while inland areas we will see the potential for up to 1/2 inch, if not some locally heavier amounts. I'll have more on that in that 7-day forecast for you coming up.
Fletcher has been rehabilitated and is no longer a threat to the public.
Morning's top story, a life-changing ruling leading to a resentencing for Winona Fletcher, and a question that's on a lot of people's minds. When exactly will she be officially released from prison? We are waiting to find out exactly when. She has served about 40 years in prison for her role in the murders of 3 people in 1985. On Monday, our investigative team was in an Anchorage Superior courtroom when a judge reduced Fletcher's 135-year sentence to 60 years.
All right, we're on record for State of Alaska versus Winona Fletcher, 3N 86194CR.
Winona Fletcher waited. Would she be a free woman after serving about 40 years for the killings of 69-year-old Tom Faccio and his 70-year-old wife, Anne, and Anne's 75-year-old sister, Amelia Elliott?
Fletcher has been rehabilitated and is no longer a threat to the public.
Tears, relief from Fletcher and her family.
Excited. The Lord answered my prayers. I'm happy she's coming home.
The murders and how long Fletcher should be in jail has been in the court system for years. In 1985, the sentencing was 297 years. Then last year, the Alaska Court of Appeals found when sentencing juveniles, trial courts must consider how things like brain development are fundamentally different from adults.
For some reason, and I will never understand this decision, the prosecutor at the time decided that Cordell Boyd was the least culpable and that the whole event, the homicides, had all been the idea of 14-year-old Winona Fletcher who had like zero criminal history except one shoplifting.
Fletcher's attorney declaring she should be given mandatory parole immediately, also arguing the public did not know things, saying Fletcher was being sex trafficked by Cordell Boyd, who was convicted of the triple murder.
We are feeling hopeful that this is done. That's really what we wanted, is to be done with all of this. Our grandparents will not come back, but we are hopeful that we are done with all of this.
And hopeful that this is a turning point for her, and that she, goes and has a great life. And that's the best of both worlds.
I want to emphasize to the families of Tom Faccio, Ann Faccio, and Amelia Elliott that although much of the evidence and legal discussion has focused on Ms. Fletcher throughout this hearing, your loved ones have not been forgotten by the court, by the parties, and they will not be forgotten in the court's decision.
Rebecca Palsha, Alaska's news source.
Now, there is some back and forth about when Fletcher will be released, but her mother tells us it could be as soon as tomorrow. Joining us now from the newsroom is Adelmi Ruiz with updates on some of today's developing stories. Adelmi.
Kristen, a Kenai jury has convicted 23-year-old River John George Aspelund of murdering his mother in Nikiski. Aspelund was found guilty of first and second degree murder, manslaughter, and evidence tampering after a 2-week trial. Troopers found 62-year-old Gerald Ann Bates dead in 2022, shot 5 times and stabbed. Forensic evidence, DNA, and video linked Aspelund to the crime. He faces 30 to 99 years in prison, with sentencing set for December 29th. Anchorage police are investigating a shooting that sent 1 man to the hospital over the weekend. Officers were called to the cars on Northern Lights in West Anchorage just after 8:30 Sunday morning. When they arrived, they found a man with a gunshot wound to his upper body. He was taken to the hospital and is expected to survive. Police say the suspect was detained at the scene. Detectives say this is an isolated incident with no ongoing threat to the public. 1 person is in the hospital with injuries following an apartment complex fire in Anchorage last night. The Anchorage Fire Department says 6 units were impacted. It happened at 6 last night on West 32nd Avenue. The fire department believes the fire was started from an oxygen tank that was ignited from a person smoking. In total, 25 fire units responded. The scene was cleared a little over 2 hours later, according to Pulse Point. Kristen.
All right, thanks, Adelmi. Alaska State Troopers have identified the researcher who died last week at Mendenhall Glacier in Juneau. He was 40-year-old Riccardo Pozzebon of Italy. Troopers say he was part of a 3-person research team when he fell into a glacial stream and was swept into a narrow vertical shaft. Juneau Mountain Rescue tried to reach him, but rushing water made the recovery too dangerous. Pozzebon was a geosciences researcher at an Italian university. Now, glaciers like Mendenhall are a staple for Alaska's sightseers, but they can also pose a risk to your safety. Jace Bertrand spoke with experts about these risks and some steps you can take to get a close look at nature safely.
In the past week, 2 bodies from 2 separate incidents have been recovered near Juneau's Mendenhall Glacier. The first being Thomas Casey, a 69-year-old hiker from Arizona. The second, Riccardo Pozzebon, a 40-year-old geologist from Italy. In the wake of these deaths, experts are urging adventurers to be aware of a glacier's ever-changing nature.
There are a lot of risks involved with the glaciers. Most importantly, that they move. There are large features on the glacier that can be very dangerous, like crevasses.
While glaciers can seem stable like solid ground, holes, crevices, and rivers lie just under the slick surface.
I think we get really familiar with flat terrain, with cement, with pavement, concrete, and we're always walking on kind of this even terrain. There are no flat spots on a glacier.
Adventure guide Kate Evans emphasizes preparedness to include never going alone.
Ideally, if you're traveling in an area that you're not familiar with, you have spikes, you have ice tools, you have a partner, harness, a rope. That's the safest way, a helmet, the safest way to travel on a glacier.
Along with these tips, Evans had one more to not only stay safe, but also get the most out of an adventure.
If you're afraid of the area, hire someone that knows what they're doing, because you learn about the area. You're with someone that can help you in that scenario. It's always best to have someone with you.
Jace Bertrand, Alaska's news source.
When we come back, the Alutiiq Museum is working at preserving Alaska's native history in unique and interactive ways. We'll get a closer look at one of their newer projects coming up.
Still holding on to that widespread wet rain across the state. I'll have more on that. But first, sunrise, 7:12 in Anchorage, 6:15 in Juneau. Your full forecast is next.
A community garden in Fairbanks is growing bigger this fall because of a federal grant. The Stone Soup Cafe garden is adding perennials alongside its annual fruits and vegetables, with new plants like apples, plums, and cherries taking root. Local partners are helping with the expansion, providing new garden beds and compost, all to support residents who struggle to access fresh produce.
This garden itself is utilized not just by our kitchen, but just by anybody in the neighborhood who happens to be walking by. It's mostly just picked straight out of the garden from people who need food, who are hungry. And so that's kind of like who we serve as the whole community.
The Stone Soup Group says the perennials should produce fruit in the next few years. The funding comes from an urban food forest grant from the USDA. Aaron, it's time to start harvesting the last of our gardens because it is getting cooler out there.
Yeah, and we're talking about areas of the interior. Could see those temperatures dropping down into the mid to upper 40s for highs by week's end. Rain is set to increase across South Central throughout the day. Of course, we could see maybe an hour or two of some sunshine breaks this morning before those clouds thicken up, and then that rain moves in across South Central. And if you live out towards Prince William Sound, coastal areas of the Kenai and Kodiak, this is where we're going to see some of the heaviest rainfall sticking around. You can see that area of low pressure pushing into the eastern Aleutians this morning. You can see the widespread rain out ahead of that through parts of Bristol Bay, the Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak, and then eventually building into South Central later today and into the afternoon hours. Winds are still quite gusty as well, where we're seeing winds anywhere from about 25 to nearly 55 miles per hour, with some of the stronger wind gusts as you head out near that area of low pressure, which is near Cold Bay. So we've got two things we're watching today. One is those winds, and then number two will be that widespread rain that's going to build in across South Central. Now, when it comes to the winds, most of the winds today will be out towards the Alaska Peninsula and through areas of southwest Alaska, where we could see some winds gusting as high as about 45 miles per hour. So that will stick around through the remainder of today into tomorrow. Now, here across South Central, we'll see winds up to about 30 miles per hour with some locally higher wind gusts, but not too terribly of a windy day. And you can see into our Wednesday and Thursday, we'll begin to see those winds kind of die down for areas of southwest Alaska. But today will be the gustiest day for the next couple of days. Across the rest of South Central, you can see rain increasing throughout the afternoon hours. Mid-morning, early afternoon, we'll begin to see the onset of that rain. It's going to stick around through the remainder of the day. We'll see some dry breaks here or there for the rest of our Tuesday. And then notice as we welcome in our Wednesday, while we'll still favor some dry breaks across South Central, the overall weather pattern continues to favor this periodic to widespread rain that's going to stick around with us for South Central, with the areas out towards Prince William Sound and coastal areas of the Kenai seeing the potential for about 2 to 3+ inches of rainfall accumulation. So be prepared for that. So 51 degrees as you head off to school this morning. Can't rule out a stray shower. It's more so into the afternoon where we are going to see those wet conditions spreading back across South Central, and most locations today may stay only in the mid to upper 50s. And as we continue to head through the middle of the month, we're still favoring a good portion of the state with those wet conditions, while areas out west actually see a tilt towards drier and likely some cooler conditions. We're already seeing that cooler weather along the slope with temperatures today in the upper 30s. Ongoing areas of wintry mix looking possible for the Brooks Range and Slope region. Dry for western Alaska with its southern southern coastline from the Aleutians out towards southeast, favoring that chance for some rain for the foreseeable future. And you can see that 7-day forecast, daily rain showers here across south central, afternoon highs upper 50s to near 60 degrees. And we do cool off those overnight lows by week's end. Kristen will be waking up each morning feeling a little chill in the air with those temperatures dipping into the mid-40s.
All right, thank you, Aaron. There's a new way to learn a bit of history and culture through the Alutiiq Museum. Justin Matson explains how the Alutiiq language is being brought to life.
That's the sound of the Alutiiq language describing locations around the Kodiak archipelago. It's part of the Alutiiq Museum's newest historical offering, an interactive map using original nomenclature.
My project for that was documenting Kodiak Island place names, and I had a lot of support from working here at the Alutiiq Museum, and then making that publicly accessible for people. Because place names are a part of our language that is, I don't want to say like forgotten, but it's something that is really, like, even if you're speaking fluently in your native language, place names are something that you can really easily substitute the English name for a place for with its traditional name.
The project hasn't come without challenges. As village elders age and the language fades, research on the native dialect becomes more difficult.
Whether it was stuff that's been done in the last 50 years or names that were recorded in old, foreign explorers' journals and maps, like finding all of that and tracing or tracking them down so that it could be incorporated into this data was also a challenge.
Now that the project is off the ground, there's opportunity for local history buffs to get involved in the map's expansion.
We do take photo donations at the museum. So if people have photos of some of these real remote places, then there's a chance we'd be able to incorporate it into the map somewhere down the line. But also, if maybe if your family has a speaker in their family, or somebody who has place names knowledge, we're constantly looking to expand our map.
Justin Matson, Alaska's news source.
Thanks for listening to our podcast. Click subscribe so you can get the latest podcasts from Alaska's news source automatically, and stay up to date with breaking news and in-depth reporting available for free 24/7 with the Alaska's news source app.